What is this little corner? The TLC. It's been called a flotilla.
See, is a flotilla of channels, and
quit playing with your dinghy.
Griz always calls it kind of a flotilla of channels. Find their space, find their corner in the corner, find their niche.
I think both Pageau and Vervaeke are admirals. Admirals!
Now we're going to have to talk about what does that meaning mean. Like, really? Wow.
Admirals.
That's what I think dialogos is. Dialogos is where you try to practice the opponent processing between individuation and participation, individual cognition and distributed cognition, so we can get the practice and the taste for what virtuous self-correction through and with each other actually is.
Smoke machine, skinny jeans. You can find lots of this on YouTube. And again, there's a lot of people in the corner that have plenty of critiques for this. But the truth is, this is exactly what John is talking about.
Have that experience. You have the experience of being an evolved primate.
Okay, you're
Doing it.
See the pattern, then I'm pulling you up, and all of a sudden he's like, oh, that's a
corner has corners.
And admirals
in life is presented in scientific language, but as soon as we attempt to imagine these creatures and their world, all the ancient patterns of human consciousness come flooding.
Admirals.
I somewhat struggle with this metaphor. I get it. And I can think of some good things about it. Mainly that it's out in the wild open, right? It's in the ocean and maybe international waters. And when you're in international waters, there are no rules, except that you probably need other boats to survive, especially if you're going to be out there for a long time. And so it's this place where boats can come together and they can survive in the open ocean without the constraints of a particular country.
Of their own flotillas. They might cue into the evolution of what the TLC is, because those deconstructing from the woke religion are going through deconstruction, and we're well versed in what it's like to deconstruct from your faith.
Hi, my name is Mike. I'm a Driftwood expert. I've been a Driftwood expert for 14 years now.
On the TLC. So the nature of and function of the TLC is probably going to remain that, like a place where deconstructing people like wash up on the shore and figure out where they're going to go from there.
These young logs are struggling to get ashore where they can be safely hidden amongst larger rocks.
Like wash up on the shore and figure
topics you'd like me to get on about or talk about. Let me know. And you know, like this whole corner of the internet thing, it's just an open bar. So come in and play. If you're a lurker, come and spend time. I mean, this is why.
Here's where I'm at. So I think that, you know, I've been lurking around this little corner for a long time. I'm not one who has ever been on social media. I've refused to play the social media game up until now. And so I'm looking at all of this and I say, well, I'm just bored. I don't like what I find anymore. And so this is why I'm going down to the smaller channels. I'm going down in the hierarchy because I'm finding that the authentic communication of the smaller channels is what I find most enjoyable. And so here I am. I'm trying to make a YouTube channel.
I wanted to start doing randos conversations. You know, if you haven't had your story told, get a hold of me and I'll just sit there and listen while you tell your story. And it's fun to engage with, to become a player in the game, to become a player who is practicing gratitude, and
with a lot of baggage all on its own. And I think that what I'd like to do, one of my goals is I really want to try to figure out how to get more people engaged. Right? If I've been around the edges of this whole thing for nearly 4 years and I've never made a single comment once, and yet I still like to engage with the topics, right? However, I can't really define what this corner is. It doesn't have a particular description, right? It's many things to many people at many times.
It's about greater organization. The thing that we wrestle with is, in fact, the editorial function, just as you said, Griz.
What channels get to go at? Yeah, like the whole Virtually Not Alone network. I throw it to the hive mind. I'm saying
Resistance is futile. We wish to improve ourselves. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to it.
If people start using this branding and they don't make you feel virtually not alone, then it's on you to shame them out of using the branding. That's the only way we can do it, because I can't be in charge of it. It's just, I know there's plenty of people who want to play that don't want to be on camera, and why take any of that from them when they can be the ones to do all that?
In this corner, we are sort of hopping around looking for tools, and it's not just technical tools and internet tools, it's also relational tools. And
we've been talking about the objective versus subjective, and I think like another piece of this is the intersubjective. Like in order for us to go to church together, we do need to agree about some things. Like for us to be having this conversation, we need to have a whole bunch of agreement about words and grammar and language and stuff like that.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
And like using the same word for God, the same word for Jesus and stuff like that is part of what makes communion possible.
The strange things about this little corner is that in some ways we've been using social media as a very strange telephone. We're having conversations with each other, sort of, but we're also having conversations with other larger things as we're having conversations with each other.
And religion isn't a solo sport, or is not best achieved as a solo sport.
The solution of reality TV is now us really being alive together.
Yeah.
The solution of reality TV is now us really being alive together.
Yeah.
And
the tensions between centralization and distribution. So
world, we call this centralization versus decentralization. So if you centralize, there's only one list. Great, very efficient, can be done very fast. What's the trade-off? The trade-off is you have to trust that list keeper. The totalitarian, basically, database is decentralization, where everyone maintains their own version of the ledger and compares notes, which is what Bitcoin is.
See, as a flotilla of channels. And
Grimwald Griz always calls it kind of a flotilla of channels. Find their space, find their corner in the corner, find their niche.
I struggle with the flotilla idea. I don't know. Here's the problem with the flotilla. You need a boat, okay? You got to build a boat, or you got to buy a boat. And then what? Where are you going to drive it to? Where are you going to ride it to? Where are you going to... Whatever you do. Yeah. What do? You ride boats? You drive them? I don't know. You steer them? You sail them? You steamboat them? So, and then where do you go? You need coordinates. You need a map. You need to know where the currents are. And I think that's the problem with it. That's the biggest problem with this little corner, is I keep trying to figure out where is the edge. Where's the edge of this whole thing? Where is it? I feel like, okay, I want to start a channel, but what do? I don't even know where to start. Do I want to chase? Do I want to chase those at the top of the hierarchy? Right? Am I always chasing their ideas? Am I always waiting for them to put out some kind of conversation? Some content, if that's what we're going to call it. And so I got to wait for that. and that's the edge of everything. And so I'm always waiting for that. But I don't want to do that. I've got a lot of ideas myself. But how do you engage in it? And I can't really participate in all of the live interactions. And I'm not sure how much I want to. I don't mind having conversations with people. I did this with Jonathan the other day. It was quite enjoyable, but my schedule doesn't really permit me to engage in multi-tiered live conversations. I'd like to suggest, because I've been thinking of it much more like a bazaar, a marketplace bazaar. It's this wild and crazy busy street. It's filled with booths, right? Marketplace booths. And each one of these booths is a channel, okay? Anybody is welcome. Come make a channel. Come make a booth. Sell your goods. Tell your stories. Give us your ideas. And we'll give you feedback on what you're selling. And it doesn't even have to be like that, but it's easy. And I think it all should, in my opinion, while it can be on other platforms, it can be on Discord, it can be on Substack, it can be on some of these other platforms, I think that it all should be on YouTube. It all should be on YouTube. And I think one of the first steps would be somewhat making a list. You know, one of the things I've been working on is trying to figure out what this thing is. You know, what is this little corner? Now, currently, the way I would describe it is you have the elites. This is your Jordan Petersons. It's some of these big names, right? It's Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, any other particular people that you have on your list. And I think there's another thing is I think more people should share their subscriptions or make them more public. And I think that could be the backbone of what makes this little corner is all of these connections between all these channels, right? That's the edge of where everybody is fishing their ideas from, right? This is where they're getting everything from. So you have these, you have elites, you have something that I'd call like an emitter. So like Paul's an emitter, right? He takes the ideas from the elites. He, not only takes them, but he takes his own ideas. He emits them out to the group. And it's, like I said, it's hierarchy after hierarchy. And it would go back to the marketplace metaphor. Jordan Peterson and these guys, they have storefronts. They don't have pop-up tents, right? They have permanent storefronts, and they're even on a different street. These guys are probably in the beginning of the marketplace. They got those really nice cushy spots. And as you go down, you have processors. So processors would be preferably what I would like to be engaged in. It's all of these smaller channels that are either taking data from elites, emitters, and or all of their own type of ideas and content, and they're somehow connected to this little corner, either through Jordan Peterson, Paul Vanderklay, of various many of other ways that they're connected. They're either flotilla channels, they're captains of ships, these sort of things. Now, then you have commenters, right? These people are still interacting in this little corner. See, I wasn't even at this point, but, and this is just a list of the people that I can find. I'm sure there are many more out there, but these are ones that I've found that they're making comments, some more frequently than others. And this is another part of what makes this little channel or corner, this little corner. You need to know who's in the group so that we can communicate to the others. And then here's the really big one, is the observers. This was me. I was an observer. And if I take a look at something like, I take a look at something like one of Paul's videos. He'll have a few thousand views on it. He'll get 30, 40, 50 comments, which is good. What are the other, what's the 1,000 other people doing? Right? They're not commenting. They don't have their own channels. They're observers. And we want them to engage, I think. Right? We want them to find a corner within the corner, a niche within that, to find a marketplace, set up a booth. It's free. I'll help you. I'm doing it right now. I'm trying to figure out how to do it right now. So I'd like to help. I'd like to try to get other people to help. And that's what this video is all about. Just trying to figure out how to get in and how to help other people get in. And all these names, they're just names. They're just words. You know, coming to grips with the lexicon that this corner uses is a chore all in and of itself. But that's what makes it fun, right? That's what makes it unique. And that's what makes people want to keep coming back, right? Because it's not the same old thing that's happening. It's not the mainstream. The mainstream is boring. It's not authentic. And so people want to come here.
On the TLC. So the nature of and function of the TLC is probably going to remain that, like a place where deconstructing people like wash up on the shore and figure
about words and grammar and language and stuff like that.
Out where they're going to go from there.
So, you know, right now we're on Griz's channel and Jacob's doing his thing over on his channel, and that, you know, having different size channels in terms of a hierarchy is really important.
Of reality TV is now us really being alive together.
Yeah.
Far more comfortable with either being behind the scenes, or maybe they want to participate, but they don't know how. Because no one wants to make a YouTube channel knowing that no one's going to engage with it, no one's going to watch it, no one's going to do anything with it. Then why even bother posting the videos at all? I can just make them myself or just talk to myself. So there does have to be some level of engagement. And what I've been thinking about is, you know, what's the minimum entry requirement? You know, in construction, we call this something like minimum initial bid, right? What's the bare minimum that you need to be considered this little corner? Is it an invitation? Is it a declaration? You just simply declare that you are, and you are either accepted by the group or you're not. Kind of seems like that's what it is. It is said it's an open bar. Come up, have a drink. It's
an open bar. So
it is an open bar. Find a way in. Maybe you can't get to me, but there's Friday Morning Nameless, and there's Grim Griz, and there's Randos United, and there's the Federecci channel, and there's Grail Country, and find a corner of the corner that fits you. And there's Transfigured, and find a corner of the corner that fits you. And come out of Lurkerdom and show your face. So
I think at a minimum, I think everybody who watches should at least have a channel, and they should at least try to open their subscriptions up, so that way we can build the largest possible network of available data streams, right? Because the more streams of data that we have of like-minded channels to seed information from or push information to, the better off we're all going to be. So that's where we're at. I'm Chris. This is Waves of Obsession.